I'll get started and keep admitting people as they join. But again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight for this October community forum. I personally appreciate you taking the time to join us. Today's agenda, we have a lot of things, but we just have one presenter. We're going to be hearing from Robin Burr, our Chief Construction Officer. Robin, I always butcher your title. I'm sorry.
Totally fine. Works.
So we're going to be hearing about all the things that are happening on the campus, near the campus, things that are in planning, and moving into the construction process. I would like to start off by saying one of the questions, several questions were submitted in advance that were specific to where can we find information about the construction projects. And I'm going to ask my colleague Stacia to paste that link. And then we'll also incorporate this into the recap that we provide after today's event. So one last housekeeping item is if anybody at any time would like to ask a question during the presentation, we just ask that you use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom, or you can use the chat feature. We'll try to get to those both in order of who raised their hand and who asked the question. I'll be jumping in periodically to ask the question, unless you would like to, and then again, use the raise your hand feature. So with that, Robin, we'll turn the time over to you so we can hopefully finish in the hour that I've promised you all that we would be having. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Shawn, and thank you everyone for joining us. And I'll ask that Shawn or Stacia help me with the chat box as it comes, because I can't actually see it once I'm in presentation mode. So thank you everyone for being here and welcome. We have quite a lot going on the university campus that we'll walk you through. And this presentation is arranged much like prior community forums, where we will start by walking you through the numerous major projects we have that are in programming and design. And then we'll follow it by those that are in construction. So I will highlight them here, and then we will go to one slide on each that gives you information. And I'll pause at the end of each project to see if there are any hands raised or questions. So these are our major projects in programming and design, and I'm going to start at the southwest corner of the campus and go clockwise. So the very first project is the Meldrum Theater. This is going into the Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse, and you'll see more about it. Second is the Applied Science Building. And this is a project that we received state funding for in the last legislative cycle. We'll talk about it. And then as you go up and over to the northeast portion of our campus, we'll talk about our medical education building. And then CVrti expansion, which is our cardiovascular research and training institute. And then we'll go to Impact Health and Prosperity Epicenter, which we call IHPE. This is a project associated with the School of Business. Then we'll look at a small expansion and renovation of Dumpy Gymnastics, followed by Collard Village, which opened in 2020, and we are finishing the fourth wing on that building. Okay, we'll next go into projects in construction. Again, a big and ambitious list, starting again at the southwest corner. Stadium Services asked me to talk a bit about some work going on the stadium scoreboard that you might have noticed. We'll talk a bit about our Olympic Cauldron Plaza. And then Kennecott Mechanical Engineering Phase 3, which is an infill of a final phase of work there. Then we will go up to the North Medical Drive parking and roadway work, which if you've been up to the hospital, you will have noticed. And then moving across the road to the Health Sciences campus at the northeast corner, we'll talk about the Catherine F. Kirk Center for Comprehensive Cancer Care and Women's Care. This is the expansion of the Huntsman Hospital, which is under construction. Then we'll go to the Helix Building, which has a very long name here, but we call it Helix, also under construction on Mario Capecchi. We'll next talk a bit about the Annex Demolition. If you've been up towards campus, you'll see that World War II building is gone now, and we're working on the next phase. Then moving south to Guardsman Way, we'll talk about our new public safety building under construction, and then West Village replacement housing and parking, which we've talked about in a few meetings in the past year, and then talk a bit about some fiber pathway work happening at Sunnyside and Foothill. Okay. There are no immediate questions. I'll jump into a bit more detail on each of these. All right, starting at the beginning. Many of you are familiar with our Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse building with the Utah logo on the roof that we see from the football stadium. This building currently houses architectural design studios in the very western end and mechanical plant apparatus in the easternmost end. And the center section has been pretty much underutilized for a while. We are in the process, or we're preparing to build a 380-seat thrust theater inside that building that will be shared between Pioneer Theater and the University College of Fine Arts. We have some very large theaters between PMT and Kingsbury Hall, but we don't have anything that's at this small and intimate scale. The first step of this project is a major seismic upgrade of the entire field house building, and it is underway, and we hope to start actual construction of the theater in the spring, and that project will take about a year to build out once we begin. Right, any questions before I move on? All right, I'll go to the Applied Sciences building. So this project involves two things. One is a historic restoration of the William Stewart building, and then an addition to that building. The Stewart building sits just to the south of Crocker Science Building. So if you think about when you go up into President Circle and you see Crocker Science Center on the right, the Stewart building sits just behind it. It was built and opened in 1919, and it was built as a grammar school for the College of Education. It's been many other things in its lifetime, but you can see the photo in the upper right of the Stewart building, and it kind of looks like a grade school building. It's kind of a yellow brick. It's hasn't had a lot of attention in a while, but it will get a major restoration. Will preserve historic things inside, and it will be cleaned up and turned largely into classrooms and offices. And then if you see the plan and the axonometric drawing, you'll see that we're putting a pretty major addition on that building. Over here in the plan, you can see where my cursor is, you can see Crocker Science to the north, the Stewart building here, and then Applied Sciences creating an L that'll create a science department courtyard in the middle. Over on the right, you can see the initial massing of it. It's a 100,000 square foot building. It will be the home of physics, astronomy, and atmospheric science. So 2 colleges will be going into it. It's going to allow us to begin to take down Fletcher Physics, which, if you know that building, it sits over on First South, and it's a big rectangular building with a round classroom at the west end of it. And it needs to come down due to seismic issues. So we've just completed programming. We hope to break ground on the first phase of this work in May of 22 next year, right after graduation. We'll do the work in several bid packages so we can get going on the site work while we're finishing design, and it will be about a 2-year project. So it means we'll be able to open it in the fall semester 2024.
Robin, clarifying question on that. Is phase 1 the restoration of the building, or are you referring to the building, new building will be built?
When I talk about phases, one of the ways we move projects along more quickly is that we bring a contractor on board early in design, and then we develop the documents to the point that we can release the first package of work, which is typically the site work, where you prepare the site, you bring all the utilities to the site, you get ready to do the foundation and structure. Then the second package is foundation and structure. And then the third one really fills in the building. So we'll be working on both the existing building and the addition together.
Okay.
But the major site work will obviously go with the addition.
Okay. This question was just posted. I believe the answer is yes, but was the Fletcher Physics Building named after you, President James Fletcher?
Yes, it was.
Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to jump since this image that you have right here of the Applied Science Building, this roadway, this kind of dovetails to one of the questions that we were submitted in advance. So I'm sorry to shift gears for a second. But right where the word applied science is, that is where the LDS Institute is in that area. And one of the questions that was submitted in advance was, what's the university's role in the proposed project at the site of the former institute on 3rd South and University Street? Is the university involved, and is the university involved?
Okay, so what I can tell you about the presentation is about a year ago, the developer came to the university and made a presentation on that project. Jonathan Bates, you might be able to speak to this better. I see that you're there.
Hey, Robin, I'm here to support you. How can I help?
The question was asked about the developer proposed project that's been in the news a bit, that was proposed to sit on the site of our West Institute building, as well as the 5 residences on University Street. They're asking are we involved?
So the answer is no, we are not currently directly involved in that project. We have been approached by that developer interested in pursuing a partnership with the university. But at this time, we have communicated that we don't have an interest in pursuing that, but that we are open to further dialogue and communication.
Thank you. And just as background, Jonathan is our Director of Real Estate Administration and Research Park.
Perfect. Thank you for fitting that into this part of your presentation. So I don't see any questions or raised hands. So if you want to proceed to the next section, that'd be great.
Okay. Next project up is medical education. We've talked about this project in the past. It's been on hold for the past year while we just resolved some issues about what exactly went into this building, whether it included the medical education plus other things, but we've now resolved that we are building a 180,000 square foot medical school building, which will replace our old 1960s School of Medicine. It's going to be located directly south of the existing School of Medicine in what is now, we call it the nursing parking lot. So it's up on our health sciences campus at the south end of the hospital. We are starting design back up now and hope to break ground next spring on, again, as I described, the way we do work in packages. We will start the site work and utility work after graduation next spring. So there's some very early images here. We're looking to make a building that is, rich and layered and textured and has great outdoor space, both facing into the health sciences campus and out to the views to the west. And as this design develops, we'll bring you more pictures. Next up is CVrti that I mentioned. Over on the left side above the red banner, you can see the original building that CVrti went into when the Institute was established, I think in the 60s. It is a World War II building constructed in 1939. And then if you look over on the right side in the plan diagram, you'll see that we built 2 additional wings, south and west, one in the 80s, one in the 90s. And now that pinkish area, we're going to kind of build in between the west and south wings and extend a bit to the south. This is going to be research labs and office spaces in a program that is very short of research space. So we're just early in design and hope to be under construction next year. And it should take us no more than 9 months to complete this. Okay. Impact Health and Prosperity Epicenter. This is a mouthful of a name, but this is a project for the David Eccles School of Business. It is like our Lassonde Institute in a way, in that it is going to be a live-learn community where students will live in the building and participate in the programs in the building. It's planned to be 775 beds. It will include the Center for Global Health and Prosperity and the Sorensen Impact Center. The Center for Global Health and Prosperity is connected to Ensign University in Ghana. And really the mission of these programs in this building is to, through entrepreneurship, to improve health and lift people out of poverty. So it is in design now. We expect to be in construction by next August and open for the fall semester in 2024. You can see some very early images. The larger kind of angled structure is the housing, which has to be more long and narrow because you need light into the rooms, and then the centers and the forum in front of it. This is a small project, Dumpy Gymnastics. If you know this building, it sits at the north end of Hyper Mall, Hyper being health, physical education, and recreation. It is a complex that's home to athletics and to our College of Health. And if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see the ground floor plan of this building. The larger wide open space is the gymnastics center. This is where our gymnasts train. And then on the south end here is where lockers, lounge, physical therapy, all kinds of exercise training functions sit. And I've highlighted this little yellow square, which is the addition. It's 1,000 square feet. You can see it up in the rendering right in front. It's going to be a 2-story open space, quite glassy. It's going to give us the opportunity to add an elevator to this building, which currently doesn't have one, and a grand staircase. And it will be the legacy hall, meaning the place where they display trophies and plaques and honor our gymnasts. It is a small project, 6,100 square feet of renovation, and then this 1,000 square foot of addition. We are just getting it out to bid right now. It's kind of a wild bid climate right now with not enough contractors and shortages in supplies. So we're going to bid early in hopes of assuring that we can have steel and building materials by March when we're ready to start construction. And that project is scheduled to nudge in between our gymnastics seasons, basically. So we'll start in March as the student season ends, and we'll be out of their way before they go back to practicing pretty full time. Next up is Collard Village Student Housing Fourth Wing. You've seen this project before. We got it approved in 2018 and opened it in the fall of 2020, just in the midst of the pandemic. The building was designed and drawn as an X-shaped building with 4 wings of housing and then a center core that housed classrooms and teaching spaces, things like that. Due to what we thought was our demand for housing at the time, we only built 3 of the wings. So this will build out the 4th wing for us. We're fortunate because so much of the planning and design work was done with the original build that it's going to be a pretty quick project. It will add 430 beds, and we hope to get started into construction again next May as our spring semester finishes and be open for the fall of 2023. So it's about a 1-year construction process. It will mimic the other parts of the building in materials, finishes, room types, everything on the inside. And you can see it in this diagram. The 4th wing is kind of highlighted in white. And beyond it in the upper part is Marriott Honors College. And then on the right side, the remnants of the annex, which aren't there anymore. Okay, just wanted to mention our 2002 Olympic legacy Cauldron. Since 2002, that Cauldron has lived behind the fence of the stadium and the south end of the stadium. As we built out our south end zone, which is now complete and operational, we needed to relocate the Cauldron because it was in the way of construction. So the university made the decision to actually give it a new home and extend its life in a very public place. So the first thing we did was we had the Cauldron taken down and taken to a metal shop in the valley where it was sandblasted and repainted. All the glass was taken out and replaced. It was provided with modern LED lighting, new gas flame, was completely updated. What we learned when we took it down was that it was only meant to last for the Olympics, and the glass was only being held in with caulk. So we got very lucky that nothing flew out of there. But what I would want you to know is that tomorrow at 3:15 is the very public ribbon cutting or unveiling or dedication ceremony. This now sits in a very beautiful, publicly accessible plaza. It has a water feature. One of the things that the Olympic Foundation required was that we kept the theme of fire and ice, the fire being the flame and the ice being water. So there is a fountain. There's a whole lot of historical plaques on the history of the 2002 Olympics and our Olympians. So definitely worth visiting. And it sits at the southwest corner of the stadium.
And plug for that one, it will also, the Cauldron will be lit at the event, and then it will be on until about 10:30 in the evening. So our local news outlets can do some live shots from it. So if you'd like to come get photos or anything, that would be a great time. It's also strung with LEDs, I think Robin may have said. So it's going to be really beautiful to go and see. So tomorrow at 3:15. Robin, we do have two questions. If we could go back to Callert Village, and then after that, the medical school.
Okay.
So with the addition of the 430 beds, how many beds does that bring us to in Callert Village?
Okay, well, there are 992 beds in the existing 3 wings plus 430. So it's going to be
I'm doing the math.
1,400 and some change, 1,432, is that correct?
Yeah, 1422. Yep.
22. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And then if we could go back to the medical school. So the question is, how will access issues to other health science offices and classrooms be maintained during the construction of the medical school? Is it true that the College of Nursing employees will lose access to their parking on the terrace and in the garage?
They will lose access to their parking on the terrace temporarily, but we are putting back parking underneath this building to make up for it. So yes, there may be some temporary loss during construction. We will be moving the entry to the parking under the building a little bit to the south to get it out of the way, but I don't know logistically the timing, so I can find that out. We'll make that a follow-up item.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Those are all the questions right now.
Okay, great. All right, and then I was asked by our stadium services to just let you know that we recognize the scoreboard lights have been on a little bit more than usual, really as a result of the construction of the south end zone and some of our maintenance requirements. We've had to rewire all of our power and data, update, install a new operating system, replace a lot of LEDs that have failed. So anyway, this is kind of by way of an apology if the lights have bothered you. We hope they haven't, because they've mostly been facing into the stadium, but we're just about back to our normal board usage. So should not be causing any issues in the future. Okay. All right, now we're going to move into the projects in construction. Kennecott Mechanical Engineering is a building that sits at the intersection of First South, right as it turns onto North Medical Drive, a little area across the street, and you can see it across the bridge called Job's Crossing, I think. It was master planned many years ago to be expanded in 3 phases. And by master plan, I mean that seismic work was done, mechanical equipment and electrical services were sized for this eventual build out. And so this third and final phase, the best drawing to look at is the middle one on the right. The red line highlights the area of infill. It adds about 18,000 square feet and creates offices, labs, and some big open bay teaching space. It is under construction now. Steel is going up and it will be finished and opened in May of next year.
Robin, I'm going to insert another one of our questions that were submitted online. So while we're in this neck of the woods, Green Hill is what many people call this area. And there's I think that there's a misconception that there is a construction, like a parking lot or a building going in that area along that alleyway. Could you explain what that is and what's going on, and just real briefly?
Absolutely, yes. There is a neighbor in our community there who is doing a major renovation of their house. Some of it related to when a truck of some sort lost its brakes in the Merrill Engineering parking lot a couple of years ago. You might have seen it in the news, and crashed into their house and spilled some asphalt. And they are doing a renovation of their building. They came to us and asked permission to temporarily use some of our property for their contractor to stage materials and use it as a truck turnaround. So we have a formal and legal agreement in place that allows them to use that area for staging and truck turnaround for no more than 18 months. And at the end of those 18 months, they are obligated to return the area to its prior condition, meaning they return the slope, the grade of the landscaping, they restore the irrigation, sprinklers, and the planting.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the next one. All right, now to North Medical Drive and the new parking garage. This is an area that you would be experienced if you drive up around or live up around the northeast corner of our campus where Mario Capecchi and North Medical Drive intersect. We're doing a couple of things. We are widening the intersection at Mario Capecchi and North Medical Drive to try to deal with some congestion that happens there because of the traffic lights. By widening it, we are able to create dedicated right turn lanes, both to go up North Medical Drive and to turn from North Medical onto Mario Capecchi, which will allow traffic that's trying to turn to not have to be stuck behind traffic that's at a stoplight waiting to go up the hill. We are also building a new 1,400 car parking garage on the site that used to be called the Children's Center. It had a daycare center and it was closed up for many years after Huntsman moved out and built their research building. There will also be a covered passageway from that parking garage to the University Hospital. This has been under construction since October of last year. If you go up the hill, you'll see that the road has been widened where we cut away to add lanes on the north side. Retaining walls have been shotcreted and finished. And we are working on the right turn lane and beginning to work our way up the hill towards where the parking structure is going in. There are some grade changes as a result of this work, so we've got to dovetail the work coming down the hill from the parking structure with the work going up the hill from the intersection. In terms of the parking structure, the majority of underground work is complete. The piers, foundation, and shoring walls are in, and I believe the first elevated deck of the parking structure will be poured next week. So we're going to start to see that garage rise up out of what is now a pit.
I'm going to answer another question that's been posted in the chat, and I think it was around the time of the Kennecott building, but I think it applies to all of our buildings on campus. And you may be getting to this later, but it's kind of lengthy, so bear with me. While all the plans are impressive, I would like to know how we are going to maintain heat, AC, clean air, repair, and support them for another 50 years, given the climate change and move to zero fossil fuels. This costs a lot of money. Second, given the pandemic, we've learned a lot of faculty and students don't want to come to campus. So aren't we overextending ourselves, overextending in maintenance, budget, and space?
Okay, well, let's address the climate question first. We are required to comply with the state's high performance building standard, which addresses a lot of things, energy use and things like that. We also, on top of that, require all university buildings to be a minimum of LEED Silver certified, which adds other things. But additionally, in the last 5 years, we have imposed a rule on ourselves that we refer to as no new emissions. So every new building that we build is actually being electrically sourced. So it's powered by electricity, not gas. You'll find in the stadium, there's an exception for the Olympic Cauldron, which does have a gas line. And there is one grill in the restaurant on the rooftop. And also hospitals need generators. And so those are burn fuel still, because we don't really have the technology to efficiently and compactly source emergency generation another way. But we are moving to an all-electric campus, so every new building is electrically sourced. Right now, the university has a contract to buy geothermal power that is sourced from the Nevada desert, and that actually is where 50% of our power comes from, is geothermal. We're also under contract to buy solar power the solar farm is being constructed in Utah, and that will serve an additional 20% of our solar, and that will come online at the end of next year. So by the end of next year, 70% of our campus will be sourced by renewable power, coupled with the requirement that all new buildings are all electric. Okay, second question was about the moving away from campus into online. Is that, and why are we building? Is that kind of the gist of it?
Yeah, since the pandemic, people kind of got used to working from home. So do we still need buildings to be built, I guess is
okay,
the core.
Well, if you listen to the news or read the news, there's a lot of press about how universities have shrunk over the past couple of years through the pandemic. And that hasn't been the case for the University of Utah. Our enrollment was up hugely last year and up again. We have the largest freshman class ever, and I think the largest student population ever. So we are continuing to grow. Additionally, we have learned that students actually want to be on campus and want to have the on-campus experience. And I think one of the indicators of that is that in spite of having opened up 1,000 more beds at Collard Village, we had to decline on-campus housing to 1,200 students this past year. This is part of why we are moving forward as quickly as we can with the additional on-campus student housing. Our students want to live on campus and they want to be part of an active community. In terms of the working from home, I would say that, I lead an organization with about 600 people in it. And I'd say there are about 75 who are mostly working from home. And these are project managers and financial analysts and contracts people. But the people who maintain and operate our buildings are all here full-time and very busy. And our classrooms are full. I think we were at about 83% of our classes were in person and the other 17 online this year. But with the benefit of having staff work from home, whether it's full or part-time, is that we haven't had a parking crisis this year. So the way we see it is, as individuals and departments are able to work remotely, what it's going to do is it's going to solve part of our current parking problem. And as the university grows, it will mean that we will not have to lease more buildings downtown or build more. But a lot of what you see here is very student focused, and we are still seeing a strong need for student focused buildings and healthcare focused.
Thank you. One more question that's come in related to housing. I don't think you need to go back in your slides. Do you know off the top of your head, and we can circle back if needed, with the addition of the CalArt fourth wing, and do we know how many beds we have on campus now or will have on campus?
I don't, but let's make that a follow-up question. We have two types. We have the family and grad student housing like West Village, and then we have the undergraduate housing. So we can get both of those numbers.
Okay.
We still, there are many universities that mandate that all first-year students live on campus. We don't have near enough housing to be able to mandate that at this point.
Right. And then this question came in, and I don't know that you'll be able to answer it. This may need to be a follow-up as well. What's the growth cap for our students? We're now at 34,500. I think that's possibly a question for our new president and administrators, but
yeah, I don't even know how to begin to address that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for those two questions. Again, we'll follow up with those in the meeting recap. All right, take it away.
Okay, this is the addition to the Huntsman Cancer Hospital, an 8-story building that has 50 inpatient bone marrow transplant beds, which will free up beds in the existing hospital for other cancer patients. Faculty offices, imaging, a surgery floor, and then the ability to decompress the current clinics, which are very much overcrowded. This is under construction. If you look up the hill, you can see that they're doing right now what we call dry-in, meaning getting the roof on and the enclosure, at least the preliminary insulation and waterproofing on, so that they can continue to work through the winter. And we expect to complete this building at the end of next year, and it will then take a couple months to operationalize before we open it. All right, this is the Helix Building. It sits on Mario Capecchi Drive. It's a 250,000 square foot, 5-story building. It is faculty, largely faculty of the School of Medicine and the Health Sciences campus, and many physicians who both teach and work in our hospital. This is part of being able to take down our old School of Medicine building. Our old School of Medicine building is 650,000 square feet. So the way we take it down is by replacing it with this 250,000 plus the 180 of the new medical school. And then some of the medical functions, healthcare functions that were in the building have moved into the other recently completed hospital buildings. This building is going to have a bridge across Mario Capecchi Drive. So you will be able to go into a lobby of that building that will have a cafe, go up an elevator and cross a bridge that will tie you right into the what we call the Moran Bridge. So it provides a way to get off of tracks and have a inside conditioned space to get you all the way into the hospital building. So this project is, steel is going up, and it will finish in March of 2023. Okay, the annex demolition. This drawing is no longer accurate because there's no annex left. Right now, what you see is a construction fence and a graded dirt lot. What we're going to put there for now is a 300 stall surface parking lot that will serve the Huntsman Arena and the Collard Village housing and other things. We are hoping to work through the winter to get our grading, compaction, curbs and gutters in place. We have reached the point where we're going to have to wait until the spring to pour the asphalt parking lot because asphalt batch plants close down in November and don't open until April 15th, typically in the Salt Lake Valley, just because you can't pour asphalt in the cold temperatures that we have in the winter. So by next spring, there will be a parking lot there. New public safety building. You can see this going up in the what we call the Guardsman Way lot at the corner of Guardsman Way and 5th South. It's well underway in construction, has suffered a little bit from challenges getting building materials over the last several months. Will be complete by next March, and then our public safety staff will move out of that very old World War II building into much nicer, more functional facilities. Okay. West Village family and grad student housing. For those who have come to our past couple of community meetings, you've seen this before. Looking at the site plan on the left, what I want to point out is that we've taken down 2 courts of buildings, the 400 and 500 courts, which front along Foothill, to build the new housing. And starting next summer, I believe, we'll take down the 2 courts that are shaded in blue inside that red dashed square, and those will become surface parking lots to support the housing. You might have seen some of these renderings before. What came forward in our initial feasibility study was pretty brutal looking 5-story blocks of housing, and we were asked to soften it a little bit to make it feel a bit more residential, to respond to the Yale Crest neighborhood across Sunnyside. We've done our very best to do that. You can see initial renderings. At the last community meeting, we were asked to look at a little bit darker colors where we now show the white or cream colored. And Jen, are you on? Jen Reed? I think all of that
I
effort
am, Robin.
is
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say here about the building or the process?
Yeah, just that so the exteriors have not yet been selected, but I would say that they will be different from what we're seeing in the renderings here. They are going to be a little bit darker. I think we've heard that feedback and agree with the neighbors on that. So we'll be selecting exteriors pretty soon here.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, very last, this is our very last.
Sorry, Robin,
Oh,
before we
go
get to that, we were on this project. For those of you in the Yale Crest community that we've had these meetings with, you may have seen that the far north lane was coned off.
That is this slide right here.
Oh, that's this slide. Oh, never mind.
That's this slide right here. Our
Thank
last
you.
slide. Yes, we are in the process of building a network node in Research Park in the Williams building to just assure that we have a good, strong, stable network of serving our campus. And it requires running fiber all around the campus here. This is actually one of Jonathan's projects and he can speak to it. And some of it requires only pulling new fiber and existing conduits we have under streets. Some of it requires some new borings to create conduit connectivity. So we have been gearing up for some work on Sunnyside Avenue at Foothill Drive. And you may have seen signs go up that said, lane closure coming tomorrow, things like that. And if you look now, you would see that is gone. If you look on this little map here, this purple section is where we need to bore under the street and across the Foothill intersection to tie into conduit we already have under the street. There had been talk of starting it as early as tomorrow, but the contractor has not been able to get the vault that he needs to install. So that work is postponed. We will give you far better notice on this when the work is actually done, going to be done. There is going to be other work occurring inside the fence line at the West Village housing at our current family and grad student housing, and some pulling of fiber through existing conduit. This may start as early as tomorrow or Monday, but there will be no lane closures no disruption, no blocking sidewalks or anything like that. And when the contractor does have the vaults and is ready to do the new boring under the street, he will need to close the westbound lane on the north side for the duration of his work, which should take 3 to 5 days. But we will give you ample notice before that's going to happen. So for now, there will be work related to this fiber pole, but no disruption. That is my last slide.
Okay, let's get to some of the questions that were submitted in advance. So one is, will the Utah Osher Lifelong Learning Institute get its own building? Are there any plans for that in the works that you're aware of?
There are no plans in the works that I am aware of.
Okay, thank you. We had a couple of questions. We see these quite regularly during these meetings. And we also have Colin Simmons on the line. So Colin, you may need to jump in. What is the university's strategy to reduce commuter single occupancy vehicles? And the second question is, how are we ensuring the U creates traffic issue? Sorry. Are we ensuring that the U is thinking about traffic issues and addressing those before we promote growth of the number of students and employees?
Colin, do you want to take that or do you want me to?
I can speak to it for a second, then I'll let you chime in as well, Robin.
Oh, you can probably cover it.
So yeah, we remain committed to our partnership with UTA specifically in an effort to reduce single occupancy vehicles. That's our biggest contributor in helping that cause. That partnership through COVID obviously suffered as ridership declined, but we are seeing a very welcome increase again in ridership since this fall semester has started, well exceeding our expectation. As Robin had mentioned earlier, we do not have as much of a parking problem as we anticipated because there are fewer vehicles coming to campus for a variety of factors. Obviously, having more housing on campus has helped that. And the work from home program that human resources on campus, and Robin has referred to that as well, has created the ability to have less employees on campus. So we do remain continue to balance the efforts of all modes of transportation. From we do have to have available parking like we talked about for SOVs, but we've come up with a variety of options for people that are part-time telecommuters, for example, where they don't need to feel like they need to buy an annual parking pass and therefore use that annual parking pass. So we've created the ability to share parking permits for employees on campus, which historically we have not done things like that. So we have a variety of initiatives like that, visitor parking options that have increased throughout campus. So the need, like I mentioned, not to have an annual parking pass. If you're coming to campus once a month or once a week, there are better options for a daily parker. And then we continue, like I referenced at the beginning, to work to increase routes and tracks times and front runner across the valley in order to keep vehicles from coming from campus. So in a nutshell, we're trying to maintain a balanced effort to tackle that issue.
And the one thing I would add, and I think we've talked about it before, is that we've been working with UDOT and UTA and the VA on concepts for building mobility hubs or transit hubs on the campus that would allow a much easier movement between modes of transportation. And there is some active work going on now to plan a medical center mobility hub in conjunction with UTA and with some federal funding. And we'll bring that back as we get closer to it. But we believe that when we can make public transportation more convenient, meaning you could get off tracks or a bus and jump right onto a shuttle that takes you to where you need to go, that people will be more willing to use public transportation. And
in the last 2 years, we improved the mobility hub near the University Union as well to allow the staging of more buses and other things. So we'll see that in various areas of campus as well. So that's a good point, Robin.
Okay, so jumping back to the Sunnyside housing, the West Village, and Jen, I think this is primarily a question for Robin first, but Jen, you're on deck.
Yeah.
So, will the work on Sunnyside include a new sewer and water lines with the lane closures? Is that happening right now, or is that planned after this the cabling that you mentioned?
This initial work has only to do with fiber cabling. It's not related to the West Village project at all.
Okay, and then another question is, where will the westbound traffic on Sunnyside be redirected?
I think it will still, the work is only going to be done between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. when it's done, with the goal of missing rush hour traffic. But I believe there will still be a way to go down the hill and just the other lane.
So just the far north lane will be impacted.
Correct.
Okay.
And not during rush hour.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So Jen, once the new West Village buildings are finished and ready for residents, will the tear down of other USA buildings accelerate?
I wouldn't say that it would accelerate. We are planning a phased closure of the older buildings so that we're attempting to slow the displacement of current students that are living there. And we have about an average stay of 2 years of students that live in the family and graduate housing now. We will likely be closing some buildings each year for the next 8 to 10 years, but we do plan on taking it pretty slow in the West Village so that we're not displacing numerous families at once.
Okay. And then another question that was submitted is, will the project be this question doesn't have a full context to it, so I believe that it's related to your USA housing. So will this project be multi-generational, serving from preschoolers to retirees and seniors?
So right now we have a pretty diverse demographic that live in the family and graduate housing, and we don't intend that to change too much because it's likely our eligibility requirements to live there will be the same that they are now. So you're required to be affiliated with the university as a student or as a postdoctoral candidate. And then different types of students get different priority on the waiting list, which is rather long. So it is very likely that we're going to be serving student families that have young children like we do now, some that are attending grade school as well, middle school and high school. And we have some older students that live with us as well that are non-traditional, married, that are either doing their undergraduate work later in life or doing graduate work later in life. So we intend to have the same sort of eligibility requirement in this new housing, but this project will be dedicated to students.
Thank you. Colin, jumping back to you, one of the questions that was just posted in the chat, have you ever thought about addressing the thousands of cars that invade the Yellcrest neighborhood on football game days, meaning providing parking for these cars on the U campus?
Oh, we continue to address that, and that goes actually back to the UTA partnership as well. Our ridership for a regular football game on a weekend, a Saturday game, is 25 to 30% of the stadium. So that's close to 15 to 20,000 riders per football game. Weekday games, we see an even larger increase in ridership. We utilize on weekend games almost 100% of all parking on campus. Weekday games, we have to do a little bit more work because school, we have not made the decision to cancel classes per se on those nights. So a little harder to make every stall on campus available for a weekday game. So that being said, yeah, we're continually looking for as many parking stalls to utilize on campus first, so we can keep them out of the neighborhoods as best as possible. One of the issues that does arise is most of the parking on campus, especially near the stadium on the south side, is Crimson Club parking. And there's paid parking on the north side of campus. So that is one of the concerns, obviously, that I think is being brought up in this question, is those that do not have Crimson Club parking passes generally migrate to the south of the stadium and that Yellcrest area. But we are always looking at that with the Crimson Club as we host football games.
Okay, thank you. This question just in, this could be for Colin, Robin, anybody. So wow, 300,000 square feet of new construction, 500,000 feet under construction, 1,200 new beds, 1,700 additional parking stalls. What are the plans to handle transportation access from the southeast parts of the valley to campus?
Well, I would start by saying by building 1,200 more beds on campus, we take 1,200 cars off the road, or 900 cars off the road. So that, you know, as we transition from being a traditionally commuter campus to a campus living, learning community, we hope that will take cars off the road.
And I know that you both mentioned it, but is there any more information to share right now or in the near future about the mobility hubs that we've been talking about for the last couple of meetings?
I think we should put that on the agenda for our next meeting after the first of the year and have Andrew come talk to us about it. Andrew and Colin.
Okay, perfect.
A formal presentation.
Okay, we are at time. I have two more questions. Hopefully that they will be short. Well, three, I think. So Robin, this isn't really our project, but could you talk about it briefly? The Ivory Housing that's proposed for next, that's Mario Capecchi and North Campus Drive.
Okay, and I don't know much about the housing. I do know from the city website and from others here that Clark Ivory was able to get the zoning change, which will allow him to build the housing there. I assume he's in the process of creating his construction documents, but I don't know when he plans to begin construction. I think his master plan showed 4 buildings totaling 536 beds, all micro apartments, so individual little apartments. And I think he intends to build the buildings over time. I don't think he's going to come in and build all 4 at once, but not much in the loop on that. I know he plans to dedicate it for University of Utah student housing.
And to clarify that, the reason that you don't know about it is because this is a private partnership or between Clark Ivory and the church, right?
That is correct. It is, yes. Clark Ivory Homes is leasing, has a long-term lease from the LDS Church for the property and is building the housing, helping us by providing housing close to the university for our students when we have a pretty severe shortage. But yes, we're not involved in the design or the construction of it.
Okay. Richard, your question that you just posted, I think we'll take that to the next meeting and incorporate that with the information on these mobility hubs and plans for commuting and expansion of the university, or more employees, more students, things like that. Real quick, I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. So is there, we've heard this question before, do we have any plans to add a sound wall or anything along North Campus Drive?
No, we don't. Not
Okay.
at this time.
And then someone did submit a question about, are we in contact with the city, the Public Utilities Office concerning a contaminated city well? Do you know anything about that? I
don't. I know that we have a utilities and energy department in facilities, and they work with Salt Lake City Public Works every day. I'm not aware of contaminated wells, or if they are, that they have polluted our wells,
Okay.
Which we don't use for culinary water. We do some of our irrigation with them.
Okay.
But we do water testing. So.
Okay. This person did provide the name of somebody at the Salt Lake City Public Utilities, so I'll send that to you, just to make sure that our team is connected.
I'll have my staff look into it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. With that, thank you everyone for joining. One more time, this meeting is being recorded. We will provide a written transcript or write-up of the recap for the recap, and we will post this video in that recap as well. So just so that anybody who missed it or had to leave early can access this information. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.